Welcome back to Nelson Network channel. Today we are going to proceed with the second lab for subnetting. Be an easy one. It's also a lab gotten from David Bumble's website. So for this lab you need, I can mention here, two PCs. This is PC1, PC2, two switches, switch 1 and switch 2, two routers, router 1 and router 2. So our task is we want 3 subnets. So we have this subnet that is 192.168.1.0/24. We need to divide this subnet into 3, and this will be a subnet section 1. This is one subnet, we call it section 1. That is from PC1, switch 1 and router 1. We will have another subnet here, section, call it section 2. And lastly, we have the third subnet here, call it section 3. So what we are asked to do in this lab, we're going to assign we're going to assign IPs from each subnet to each computer. So the first IP address in the subnet, we're going to give it to PC1 for this section 1, and the first IP address in section 3, we're going to give it to PC2. And the routers, we're going to configure the last IP address on this side for this router. For the section 1, we're going to configure the last IP address of this subnet on this interface of the router that's inbound, and do the same for section 3, the last IP address of this subnet in section 3. We're going to assign that IP to serve as default gateway on this router on the inbound interface of G000. For the link between routers, set R1 to the first IP address and R2 to the second IP address in the subnet. So this, for this section 2, which has a special subnet, the link between this router and this router, we're going to set IP address for this router as the first IP in this subnet, and here the second IP in this subnet. We're going to configure the switches with second last IP in each subnet. So each switch for switch S2 in section 3 has the second to the last IP address for this subnet in this section. Likewise, switch 1 in section 1. So we go straight to the solution. We still use Sunny table. So what the we have the subnet is 192.168.1.0.255.255.0. So a very straightforward way to do this is to use this Sunny table. So what we're going to do is create a table with 10 columns and 3 rows. Make it very easy. We're going to call the first row subnet, second row host, this is total number of hosts, and the third row mask. So simply we do it this one, multiply by 2, we double it, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 1, 2, 8, 2, 5, 6. Take it backwards. 1, 2, 8. We divide it by half. 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. /24 /25 /26 /27 /28 /29 /30 /31 /32. So we are asked to divide this subnet into 3 subnets, but as you see, we don't have an odd number of subnets here from this table, and it's impossible to have 3 subnets with equal number of IPs, because the IPs are in twos, so it's always going to be an even number of IPs for each subnet. So we don't have a 0.5 IP or something. So for that reason, we're going to divide this subnet into 4 and discard the 4th subnet that we're not going to use. So to do that, we're going to select this. This is going to be a column of interest. As you can see, dividing this subnet into 4 gives us a subnet mask of /26. So simply what we're going to do is 192.168.1.0/26, which is equals to 192.168.1.0.255.255.255.64, as we see here. This is going to be first subnet. Second actually we made a mistake. Okay, so let's cover that first. So I said this was going to be our subnet, our column of interest, because we are dividing it into 4 in order to get 3 subnets. So coming from /24, we've added, as we can see, we've borrowed 2 bits. That makes /25 and /26. So from borrowed 2 bits, which is from /24, we've borrowed 1 bit to make it /25 and another bit to make it /26. So we are essentially going to add 128 plus 1 plus 64. That is going to give us 128 plus 64, which will give 192. So our answer here is 168, 1, 0, 255, 255, 255, 192. So coming back to this, the subnet mask is 192 because we've borrowed, in order to leave from /24 to /26, we needed to borrow 2 bits and these 2 bits are equivalent to 128 plus 120 plus 64. If we were using a /27, we will add 32 to that. So that's it for that. So our second subnet, we have it to be 192.168.1.64 with this subnet. This subnet remains identical, it doesn't change. So let's make it clearer. That's first subnet. Third subnet. Now, the third subnet, we're going to, because it increases by 64, we're going to have 128 as our third subnet. Now, fourth subnet, (128 plus 64 is going to be 192. So we cannot go past this, and yeah, because this is a subnet and we cannot go past this. This is the last subnet, and in this case we just needed 3 subnets from our question, so we're going to discard this. It's not necessary. Cancel out. We don't need that. So this is our subnetting. We've gotten what we wanted. Now that we have this, we can just simply come here in each section and give each section its subnet. 192.168.1.0 subnet 255, 255, 255, 192. One 192.168.1. We're going to use the third subnet, 128, 255, 255, 255, 192. Here 192.168.1 second subnet, 192.168.255.255.255.192. So make it pretty. So that is it. So now let's go to the configuration. We've answered, we've done this, we've divided the subnet into three. With first subnet PC1, we've assigned that section 1, PC1 SR switch 1 router 1, PC1 switch 1 router 1, that's it. Second subnet between routers, this is it, between the routers. Third subnet PC2 switch 2 router 2, PC2 switch 2 router 2, this is it. So configure PCs with the first IP address in each subnet. So this one, what we do is simply come to here. So the first IP address is this, is still the same. The first IP address for this subnet is this, but the subnet mask is different because this is /24, but we're going to use /26 as we saw in our calculation. So 192. Yes, that is correct. Let's confirm that. ipconfig. So that's correct. 192. We're going to assign the default gateway later in a few seconds. So let's go step by step. Configure PCs with first IP address in each subnet. So PC2, we're going to do the same configuration here, but now PC2 is no longer, it's not going to be this, but rather 192.168.1.129. 129/192. Let's confirm that this IP config. Let's see. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Configure routers with last IPs in each subnet. With last IP address in subnets on connections to PC. So this interface. So let's go here. Press enter. Show interface. Show IP interface brief. So we see that this IP, this interface is not assigned any IP and it's down. So let's bring it up. 15 interface gigabit no short IP at 192.168.1. So it says configure routers with last IP address in that interface. So the last IP address of this one is going to be 63. is this IP minus 163. 192.163. 255.255.255.192. Oh, so it's going to be 62 instead. Yeah, because that IP is going to be, 63 is the broadcast IP, so that's not the last IP, so that's what we need 62 instead. So let's go back and make sure you have that configured properly. Yeah, so it's up and running. Let's do the same for router 2. Router 2. Show IP interface brief. So we see the interface gigabit 000, which is this one. This interface, because it's this interface that connects to this PC, so it's not assigned any IP. So we're going to assign the last IP address in section 3 in subnet 3. So go to conft IP, we go to that interface gigabit 000. IP address 192.168.1. So it's not going to be 191, it's 190. 190, 255, 255, 255, 192. Yeah. Sure. So it's down, we need to bring it up. So that's it, we've done that. So configure routers with last IP address in subnet on connections to PC. For the link between the routers, set R1 to the first IP address and R2 to the second IP address in this subnet. So this is the link between the routers, that is gigabit 001 for R1, gigabit 0001, which is this one. So the first IP in that subnet is 65. .192. So it's down. Let's bring it up. So let's configure this one. Router 2. You see this interface is administratively down and protocol is down. That is this interface connecting to this router 1. So let's go and configure interface 001 no shot. Now it's up. See, it's turned green. Both are up. The protocol is up now, and it's administratively up. So we assign the IP address 192.168.1. That is the second IP 65.66.255.55.192. Let's see. Yep, so everything is up. Configure switches with second last IPs. So let's configure the switch. Show IP interface wave. We're going to configure the VLAN because by default that is what we use. So const interface VLAN 1 no shot. We're using the second IP in that subnet 192.168.1. So we are in switch 2. So we are going to use subnet 3. The second IP is 130. 130. So show. So we have that configured. Go back, we go to switch 1. Show IP interface wave. We use VLAN 1, so no shot. IP address 192.168.1. Second IP is 2. Two 2.5.192. So let's see again, show interface. Everything is up. So second last IP in the, it doesn't matter, we use the second IP, could be second last. So now we're going to configure the default gateway on this router, on this PC. Configure the default gateway. Which is going to be the interface of the router, which was 192.168.1. So we're going to use this IP. Gigabit 000. We're going to use this as our default gateway for this, because it's the IP address at this interface, inbound interface here. So we'll copy this, come back here, paste it, and that's it. Let's see if we have that here. So this is the last IP address in this subnet. So we're going to do the same here for PC2. Config setting. Let's check here what is the IP address there. 192. Let's copy this. Let's go to PC2, paste it. Let's check what is. Yes. So now that we have that done, I think we can, let's configure the default gateway as well on the switch. IP default gateway 192.168.1. We're going to, since we switch to, we're going to use this same IP address at this interface. So we're going to use this. Notice here we don't need to put a subnet mask. So you can now put show run. It will show us that this is our default gateway. So we go to switch 1. IP default gateway 192.168.1. What's the gateway here? 62. Show run. It gives us default gateway for that. So we can write copy run config or write mem to save the configuration, do it everywhere, save the configuration. Now let's try to ping PC2 192.168.1. What's the IP address of PC2? 129. Successful. The first fails because of RP needs to request for the MAC address, and yeah, it's successful. So that is how we subnet a network. We divide a network into three. We assign the PCs. We assign IP address to the PCs. We assign IP address to the routers. And notice that in order for this to work, it was pre-configured with a protocol. Show run OSPF. So this router had OSPF configured in it prior to this lab for the router to send traffic from this network to this network. It needed some routing configuration which was done using OSPF. So we're going to cover OSPF routing protocols subsequently. Yeah, so that's it for now. Thank you for watching. See you in the next lab.